Hi, welcome to Owning Your Own Shadow. Today we're going on a treasure hunt. I'm Katie Eden-Todd, the author of User Guide for Humans, and this is our weekly Persona Grata Facebook Live session. Yay, someone's watching. Hi Desley, thank you. Ever since I did the first one last week, which was just wonderful, exhausting, exciting, really fabulous to do. The next day I woke up, as is my wont, and I had a really powerful message. You have got to talk about how to integrate our shadows. You've got to talk about all the shadow work, which is what the personas teach us. So I thought, how do I do this? It's a massive topic. And I seriously have not slept properly since I've had a terrible night. My mind's all over the place, but such is life, hey? This is the work. This is what we need to do. So I've written a language of personas, which some of you have known and seen and got the book for, which is wonderful. And the personas are very different. They're all good. There's none better than another. Any gender can be any persona. We're born with them. And hello, got some lovely messages coming in. Gee, this live thing's fantastic. Don't you love technology? None is better than another. I've had lots of questions where people say, I've got a dog and an owl, or I've got a this and a that. Is that good? It's all good. It's all fascinating. You're all unique. You've got 6 personas. You've got 3 strong ones and 3 is your secret identity. The thing that all personas have is they've all got shadow. Now, what does shadow mean? They're shadow traits where they're our parts where we come out and we're reactive. And what I've called it is our child, our hurt child in reactivity. We can be passive. We can be very aggressive. We can be frozen. We can be disinterested. We're always shooting ourselves in the foot when we're in shadow. And we're really operating on an automatic default setting as if we're emotionally under 5. So most people in life have no clue how to deal with their particular shadows. They don't even know really what they are. Every persona's got their shadow side and their light side. Sometimes, I know in my early years, I had no clue that the worst of myself, the worst of my very loud and powerful shadows, in Raven and Lion in particular, I had no clue that there could possibly be some light traits or gifts in there that was to be my purpose. I mean, who was going to tell me that? How would I know that? So every persona has got amazing gifts, amazing strengths, but you know what? We don't get to them because our shadow keeps getting in the way. It's like static, it's like noise. You know, our child tells us fake news. That's why we're seeing it in the world so much. Our child tells us fake news, fake stories, takes us off on tangents that really take us away from ourselves. The further away from ourselves we are, the further away we are from our purpose, from being the person we were born to be. And that's where you start to get soul sickness. That's where you start to get unhappiness, physical illnesses. We have difficulties and lots of conflicts in relationships. We have lots and lots of issues. Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so my problem today was, this is a really deep and important philosophical topic, but it's also incredibly liberating and empowering when you start to understand it. Was I going to be able to describe it in a way that you're going to be able to use in your life? So I thought we'd call it Life is a Treasure Hunt if you know how to play. What if your shadows were the curriculum of your life lessons? That's how I see them. So if you've got dog, sparrow, and nightingale, for instance, the shadows of those 3 personas, guess what your life lessons are? Bang, there. And in the book, we go through them, child, adult, elder. We see exactly what they are. We hear exactly what they say. Oh, I don't want to burden someone. I might upset them. Or I won't say anything. Or whatever you want's fine. Or the weight of the world is on my shoulders, says the nightingale. I think I'll just stay home. I'm too depressed, which is always the wrong answer, by the way. So the curriculum of what you're really here to learn in life, because I think life is a school. I think life on earth is a school. And if we keep failing or not recognizing our lessons, then guess what? We keep hitting brick walls and our pain continues. What we do when we're in child, we feed what Eckhart Tolle calls our pain body, or Michael Meade calls our ring of fire, which is around us the child puts us a defense system around, and it stops us from getting to our soul, from hearing the voice of our soul, which is the divine part of us, the eternal part of us. So getting to grips with your shadows and accepting them changes your life. When we can stop feeling shame and guilt and really own them, really embrace them, life starts to change. It's interesting because when you see a persona in shadow, and then you see it maybe a little while down the road when people have started to learn this work and apply it to their lives, people have such radical transformations. And it's chalk and cheese, like a shadow dog and a light dog, a shadow lion and a light lion, a shadow parrot and a light parrot. Oh my God. It's almost like they're not the same person. They're not the same, but they are, because it's the same persona, but there's a huge continuum of where you can go with it. Unfortunately, when we're in child, we dig ourselves further down. It's like snakes and ladders. It's like we go down 1 story, 2 story, 3 stories. If we stay there long enough and we keep feeding the stories of, and this is important, we feed the stories of blame, of pain, of being a victim. They did this to me, they said that to me, they made me feel this, etc., etc. If we keep feeding that, we feed our pain and we get full up to here. And then what happens? Something happens, a look, an event, someone says a sentence, they look away when we're speaking, get an eye roll, whatever. Something happens, and because we're full up to here with pain, we are massively hurt, massively offended, and massively reactive. And so we keep pushing ourselves down, further down snakes and ladders, and we can get down a very, very long way. We could be stuck in shadow for years. I know I certainly have been. I know I've had dark nights of the soul for many years at a time. Shadow work is not for the faint-hearted, but I think if you're here, part of you is wanting to get unstuck. Part of you is wanting to find and celebrate the brilliant gifts that you have and really believe in them so you can go forward. So, coming back to our treasure hunt, you all get, there's no good combinations of personas, they're all fantastic. They are different as chalk and cheese from light and dark. You do not have a persona unless you can fully own they've got the shadow traits and the light traits. You don't have one or the other. I believe we're born with lessons that we chose, that we want to learn. I think we've all got fractures inside in our psyche. We've got bits that we've pushed away, cut off, severed. We don't want to have anything to do with them. And our shadow is a messenger. Our shadows are messengers. They're like an alert on your phone. There's something you need to look at here. Something's going on. There's something that is needing healing. There's some pain. There's a conflict that needs resolving. And if we can go there, hi darlings, if we can go there, we can actually bring back these fractured parts of ourselves and integrate them back into who we are. And then you know what? You feel more empowered. You feel more resourceful. You're stronger. You've got the strength and the energy to go forward to do what you're here to do. So yes, if you've got the 6 personas, of course there's animals in that. There's animals and birds. Some people have got 3 animals in their personas. A lot of people have got 2, and some people have only got 1. So it's up to you. It's your unique flavour of personality. Okay, so we've all got shadow traits, and the shadow is a messenger for us. There's 3 things that I came up with on our treasure hunt. The first thing we've got to be able to do is we've got to know when we're reactive. We started looking at this last week. You've got to know when you're a bit triggered. Do you feel a bit out of sorts? Do you feel a little bit overtired, as I am today? Do you feel a little bit not quite yourself? And do you feel upset or angry or irritable or, that's a good one, when am I not? Frustrated, sad, lost, stuck, like I can't see any light. Life is like this. We shouldn't expect that we want to feel good all the time because rubbish, you're not learning anything. Life's a school. So when you're a little bit triggered, it's important that you know that. One of the ways that we can go on this treasure hunt, and we have little bits and sometimes we have big bits. The first thing we need to do is push pause. Now, I don't know if any of you out there watch Harry Potter or have read the Harry Potter books, the genius works of J.K. Rowling. I could do an entire series of sessions on the Harry Potter books, but my husband will beg me not to. He won't want me to talk about it anymore. I think they're absolutely incredible. If you like Harry Potter, in the second book, The Chamber of Secrets, where there's the blue Cornish pixies with Magical Me, which is my husband, Gilderoy Lockhart, Hermione, of course, comes to the rescue and she says, "Immobilis," and all the pixies go and they stop still. In a way, that's what we've got to do to ourselves when we're in child. We've got to say, "Immobilis," or pause, push the pause button. Do you think your child wants you to push pause at that moment? Do you think they're going to do it happily without resisting? Absolutely not. It's like when you've got a toddler at home and you say, "No, you can't have that second ice cream," or "You can't have Fairy Floss for breakfast." Are they going to give up without a fight? I don't think so. So the same thing happens with your child. Your child's not going to want to give up. Their child is going to want to say, "No, it's not fair. They always do this, they never do that." If you're saying always and never and not fair, you are fully under 5 and you need to not listen to what you are thinking about, what you're talking about. You're actually needing to stop and come and be present. What am I feeling? What's going on? Because my reactivity, my survival coping strategies are starting to jump out. And we are radioactive when we go there. The earlier you can catch this, I can't stress this enough, the earlier that you can catch you starting to be reactive, the better. So I'm going to ask you all now, if you were to take a few deep breaths and just pause, what are you feeling? How grounded do you feel? When we're, oh good, there's a Harry Potter nerd here. Excellent, fantastic. Hi, Natalie. If you can just connect in each morning as you start today and at different times during the day, what am I feeling? Do I feel grounded, or do I feel a little bit off kilter? A little bit out, or do I feel seriously triggered? You need to know that. You need to know where you are. The next thing that happens, which is the step from child to adult, which is the most important step of your life, and this is the shadow work. The most important thing is you've got to go into that discomfort. You've got to go into that pain. You've got to stop all the they, he, she, it's not fair. All of that has to be put on pause, immobilis. And you've just got to sit with, I am feeling, and I'm fearful that, or I feel that this might be saying this about me, or showing this about me, or I really have fucked up badly. I've made a really bad mistake. Oh my God, that was awful what I just did, or what I just said, or what I did yesterday or last week. Just sit for a moment. Take some deep breaths. I always put my hand on my heart and close my eyes, because it just helps me ground and come in and stop the chatter. And we want to get to the unconscious parts of ourselves, because the conscious bit is only 2% and it will tell fake news, okay? It'll tell fake news. So here we go. Yeah, the always and nevers. We want to watch that, because it means you're talking rubbish. You're talking rubbish. I can't have as many tantrums as I used to have. I used to have lots. I used to go off my tree in very righteous anger. I can't now, because I know it's my child having a tantrum, and I regret it so much afterwards, and it does so much damage. And every time we go off into our shadow, our belief that we're lovable comes down. It's like it's corrosive acid. And people might not see that, we might hide it, but our belief that we're lovable goes down and our reactivity goes up, and it takes smaller and smaller things to prod us. So if our shadow is our messengers that there's a whole lot of pain here, from our past, from our childhood too, of things that have not been resolved. And you know what? The child takes those pain events that we've had, whatever they may be, and decides that that means this about me. For example, that means I'm definitely not good enough. I don't belong. Or people will always abandon me. Hear the always and the never again. People will always abandon me, or people will always hate me. That's mine. People will always think I'm a raving lunatic. That's mine. I won't belong. I'm going to fail. I'll definitely fail. I should never try, because I'll always fail. I can't do that. I don't fit in. There's no point joining in. I can't cope with the world. It's too painful for me. I'm going to stay isolated. I'm going to be imprisoned if I agree to doing any of that stuff, so I'm just going to go off on my own, whatever. So when we have these pain stories and we have this pain from our childhood, every child interprets that to mean something about who I am. I find it to the previous, you internalize and almost explode in your brain. Thank you. We do internalize. Some people cry and get really distressed, and obviously that's going on, Lydia. Brilliant. But others, like me, will put a mask on and have no idea about the angst that I go into, how appalling it feels, how devastated I am, and that it feeds my self-hatred. I'll project and say they hate me, but actually I hate myself a little bit more every time. Or you decide you're not worthy a bit more every time. Not the others, but we always say it's them, but it's us. Shadow work is mirror, mirror. Shadow work is anything that goes out there that I say they are doing, I need to put my mirror up and go, oh my God, how am I doing that to myself? That's what this work is about. People will always leave me, yes, all of that stuff. That's the victim child stuff. That's I'm going to be abandoned. But when we believe that and we reinforce these messages, we are abandoning ourselves. We are failing ourselves. We are hating ourselves. We are imprisoning ourselves. We are attacking and ambushing our lives. We are devastating ourselves. And people don't realise this. So their life is one long whole process of similar types of interactions with similar personas where the same dynamics happen. It's the same script and the same play. So this happened to me when I was a kid, so I find someone who can play that part for me when I'm a teenager, then when I'm an adult, and then in my first marriage, my second, my third, at work, my friends, my colleagues, my boss, whatever. And I have the same interaction. It's because we're not getting it, people. It's because we're not getting it. And I've done the same. So how do we move from pause and really being able to parent our little one and just hold her and go, or hold him and say, what you're feeling is absolutely valid. It's pointing to something very, very important. It's like there's long roots down here, and that's shadow work, that we've got to go in and get to what it's really about. Not the Band-Aid, where we haven't fixed what's going on. Then we've got to go in and be present with ourselves and just name what you're feeling. Own it. I feel awful today. I feel I really fucked up when I said this or did that. That's a common one for me because, I have got foot and mouth disease. I feel I was too much. I was over the top. They couldn't cope with me. But what we're really going into is stories of fear of rejection, fear of being alone, which of course is the biggie for every child, everyone's child. So being present with, and then just owning it. And you know what? When you can own your shadows, yeah, I do that. And we will make mistakes, and being perfect is not the name of the game, people. It's not what it's about. If you're going to live a full, rich life and be freely yourself, you have to make mistakes because they're the most important times that you actually learn. You learn more from your mistakes than when you succeed. Way, 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 way more. So if I go in and I think this about myself, maybe it's a lot of fear of being alone is a big one. It's about fear of being with ourselves because we will find our shadow and we'll find all the things that we've judged in ourselves. And this is where we get into our shame. We've all got a lot of events in our lifetime where we've judged ourselves as having been really appalling and feel huge shame. Now, some of that might be, yes, we did mess up. Others, we may have really exaggerated. And we don't need to feel the shame, but that was our interpretation at the time. Because remember, developmentally, we're very young when these things are happening. But those beliefs that we have about ourselves, they're like concrete. And they can actually dictate our choices and what we will and won't do for the rest of our lives without us knowing it. Going in and being with yourself and conquering that fear is one of the most empowering things you can do. So I'm just going to be with myself. I'm going to be okay with whatever it is I'm feeling because my shadows are my life curriculum. Remember, that's the university of life that we've all signed up for. I need to go in and sit with them. Oh my God, I was such a show-off and such a contriving attention seeker. I'm talking about peacocks now. I just wasn't myself at all. So what would you take from that? Do we attack ourselves? Do we shame ourselves further? No, we just own it and say, how else might I like to be? What's the real me? To be more present. When we're in child, we're not present with ourselves. We're on autopilot. You want to be really present with yourself. Now, if you can be present with your child and present with yourself and okay with the mistakes you've made, okay with the shame things, but actually sit with them. Also, the other messenger of your shadow and of your soul is illness. Illness is a way of saying there's something not sorted out here, you need to go into the pain. Now, I had chronic illness for 40 years, 4 days to 8 days every fortnight, for at least 20, 25 years, vomiting, pain, migraines, fibromyalgia, where I could not get help from Western medicine. I had to go into the pain over and over again and face one more story of myself, one more judgment, one more ownership of my shadow, of my darkness. And it took me up to 40 years before I was right. 30 years the migraines left, and I was cured of that. But it was all the layers that I went through. So shadows, depression, anxiety, these are all saying that we're too stuck in our child beliefs of who we should be and what we should do and how to cope with life. And if you choose your child's coping strategies, you lose. Guaranteed, it will get worse. That's why the User Guide for Humans, How I Was Born to Be, my ebook that I've just put out, that's why that's there, so you can get a very clear picture. That's my child, this. Go and read what do they say? This is how the child speaks of the nightingale. Go and read that and ask yourself, have I been thinking that and saying that to myself in these last weeks or months or days? Is this where I am? Or is it my lion? Who's controlling me? Which child? And as soon as you see that, you can realize that if I continue down that path, I'm going further down snake, and I might go down 25 stories. And the further you go, the harder it is for you to be able to finish, to be able to come out, to come back up to the light again. We take ourselves down these terribly painful paths. We also get addicted to particular emotions and particular stories that are in our pain body. And it's like our child will set up a story so that we can go and have our hit again because it's what we're used to, even though it's so excruciatingly painful. The first time you can catch yourself and push the pause button and just be present, and you'll need some space, you'll need some time where you can just be present and say, what's going on for me now? What am I fearing? What am I feeling? What do I think? What do I feel about myself? What am I feeling about what's coming up? Have I agreed to something I don't want to do? Am I feeling inadequate for what I have set myself up to do? What's going on? Just find the story. Then we get to the third stage, which is the empowerment. Now, when you're clear and you haven't got the shadows going round and round and round as static, and then the fake news where your child's interpreting it yet again in the wrong way, in the default setting autopilot way. When you start being really present with yourself, you can start to hear your soul. You can start to hear the divine in you, your soul voice, which is the voice of your destiny and purpose, saying, go and try this. Remember you got that email the other day? That's what you're supposed to be doing. See, this is the treasure hunt. This is where we go into the shadow, and there's a message there. You don't really want to go and do that. You're allowed to say no, ring them up, text them, say, I'm not doing that. That doesn't work for me. Sorry. Or I would like to definitely do that. Thank you. Even though your child said, oh no, don't worry about it. Someone's just reminded me, a great story that nightingales can tell is, oh, I always have bad birthdays. There's a story. I always have bad birthdays. Special occasions, anniversaries, and then what happens is they jump into the sadness and instead they get tragic. That's a child's story. If you can see that you're a little bit off, you're a little bit tense, got my birthday coming, you're worried, because the nightingale wants this epic, big love, this massive, like a romantic novel gesture of love, and if it's not that, well, I'm disappointed, I'm hurt, I'm sad, you're not appreciating me, so I'll just disappear and I'll just say, I always have bad birthdays, and I'll go from one extreme, the high love romance, to the tragedy, but it's the same intensity. Isn't that interesting? It's the same intensity. So I get my hit. I get my emotional hit. Now, if the adult was to be able to see that, oh my God, I'm setting myself up for that same pattern again, you would be able to pop that and then just calm in. Okay, now someone is just saying, I've got a strong beaver and raven. I'm not scared of being alone. I just actually blame everyone else. Do you, Jessica? Who would have thought? You're talking my language, darling. Indeed, I just blame everyone as well. Now, dark raven, child raven, they're all fucked. They're all fucked. It's all their fault. They're so unevolved. They've got no idea. Judge, 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 judge. All those words that we have and that condemnation we have of others, it's like we've got a poison arrow, a tip on the arrow, like on the nuclear rods on Chernobyl. If you watch that, oh my God, you've got to watch it. The Chernobyl series, fantastic. But you have the graphite, the nuclear tip there, and it makes it combustible and it goes off. Fantastic series. Anyway, I thought when I was watching Chernobyl, my God, that's just like me. That's how I can be. When I'm condemning of others, guess what, Jessica? You are fully in child. That is your Raven's defense system. But actually, you're condemning yourself. And you are saying, I have so much judgment about the acidity and the power of my judgment that I am putting it out onto other people. Yet someone's just saying, oh, I'm so nightingale right now. Oh my God, the tragedy, the sadness. I can't cope. It's all too hard for me. I'm too precious. I feel too much. I go straight to they don't get it. They've got no idea, says the owl. Of course you do. You're intellectually superior. They're just stupid. Should be a law against stupidity. Of course you do. I get that as well. Owls are not so great at facing things emotionally and personally. They're not great at feeling things. Again, owls and ravens are the most intellectually superior, and so they'll judge others. My darlings, when we are projecting and blaming and attacking or resenting all these things, we are in child. We are in child. So if you're judging everyone a lot, that's actually, let's do the mirror, mirror. You're judging yourself. You are totally in child. And that means you're going to have a life that's full of pain. The treasure trove work, which I have done masses on because Western medicine couldn't help me. And my shadow was massive. So I had to learn to come in. Yeah, Caroline, you'll be absolutely useless at feeling things, my darling, because you're an owl. You want to stay in your head where you get an A, you get a D- for feelings. You don't know yourself. The whole thing is, owls have got to learn, know thyself. Know thy subject, oh yeah, you get an A+. Know thyself, haven't got a clue. Haven't got a fucking clue, darling. So, here's my parrot coming out. So, it's about being present and knowing what I'm feeling and being able to push that pause button, that immobilis. And you know what, when you push that immobilis, it doesn't take long before they start to wake up, and the spell doesn't work that we've put on our child to keep them still so we can actually process it from an adult perspective and feel and own. Be present means own. But you know what? You feel so calm, so grounded. It's so much better to own. I totally fucked up and I'm totally judgmental and I haven't come to peace with all my darkness. I'm not at peace with it. That's why I have to judge everyone else's, because temporarily it makes me feel like I'm an okay person. But it doesn't work. It doesn't travel all the way through us. Deep, we're running from ourselves all along, and then we need our partnerships to fill our holes, then we need our careers to fill our holes, or our children to fill our holes. And then, so judging other people's not it, judging ourselves is not it. It's judging no one is where we're at. It's blaming no one. It's about, this is my curriculum. This is what I came to learn. And I tell you, you're going to get 1,000 lessons. And if you don't get it, that's fine, because I reckon you're going to come back and have to do it all over again. That's my motivation for learning the lesson. Okay, so we want to get on the treasure hunt and we want to go in and find that our judgment, when you can own your shadows, and we get into the empower bit, pause, be present, and then empower. Child, adult, elder. When you get to, I'm okay to sit with it and just own the feelings that I have, and even then go deeper and explore the stories I've had, you may need to sit in it for days or weeks. I've sat in some for months, some for years, but to consciously do the work on, you can be working on this and very aware of this. What happens is your ability to have compassion and empathy for other people grows. The further you own your shadow, the further you work with your wounds and the stories of self-rejection and the things that you carry of other people's that are not yours, but when you see your part in everything, the further you can do that, the more your compassion and love for self grows, your acceptance and tolerance of yourself grows. But mirror, mirror, so it does for humanity, so it does for others. The most dangerous people on the planet are those who cannot own their shadow, cannot attend to their wounds, who are a very long way away from their soul and act from their coping automatic default child settings all the time. These people, and we can be like this, we judge, we blame, we hate, and we divide. Think of anyone at the moment on the world stage where that might be the dynamic. This work is individual work, but it is also the collective work. What if we feel we never have enough compassion? Okay, so that means, Susie, that you haven't yet found the deep love for yourself, the deep love for your personas, the deep compassion and the understanding. Yeah, it's Trump. Thank you, Cindy. That's who I'm talking about. He is the quintessential dark child of epic proportions, reflecting to all of us, when we hate, when we divide, when we judge, when we blame, when we sever parts of ourselves, fracture parts of ourselves, and put them in the bin and send them to the vault down number 527, and then make all difference bad, he is showing us the consequences of what happens with that. And so we're doing soul work, all of us, to come back to our soul. You've got to go through the shadow. You've got to heal your pain. You've got to feel your pain. You've got to be able to accept it. I think that it is fantastic to be able to read these personas and know that every single owl, okay, so Caroline, you've got an owl there, but then another persona, then you move into another persona where the feeling overwhelms you. So it might be your dog, it might be nightingale, it might be sparrow. This is where knowing who you are is the way to hear your soul's voice, to hear your purpose, to know what's going on. You're so sick of feeling like this. I know, my darling. I can't tell you how sick I was feeling of being in chronic physical pain. 30 years is a long time where no medication works, pethidine doesn't touch it. This is a long time. But it was a mirror of my spiritual pain, of my emotional pain, my mental pain. So I had a massive amount of work to do to start going through the layers. It literally took 30 years. And then then it morphed into something else. So 40 years, and here I am. A huge, huge, huge lesson. So I know of which I speak. If you can know who you are, your type. Hi, Kate. If you can know that, you can see that I'm in owl, and then I go off then I've gone into my sparrow or my nightingale, my dog, and then I've gone this. This is why it's really important to know your personas. But you can read them and know that every single owl has that same issue. Every raven has that same issue, Jessica. Every nightingale has that same issue. Every sparrow has that same issue. You don't judge yourself then, because that's our collective lesson, isn't it? It's like every sparrow's got the same lessons. Every raven's got the same lessons. But your combination is unique. So, I'll start off in raven, so I'll condemn and judge and think I'm superior. Then my lion goes, I don't care, I'll show them, I'll prove to them. I'll go off and do my own thing. Then the parrot goes, they're all fucked, I'm not joining Western society. Then my nightingale gets sick. Fabulous. I get really ill, I have another recurrence of the illness. The anger is like poison in my body. I only have to have angry thoughts for a few minutes and I have a health crisis. Like a health episode that lasts for 4 days. Still to this day, it's like I get electric shock. So I can't do it. So I have to go in and change that story and see, well, how am I hating myself? What's my anger about really? Where am I feeling powerless? That's what my anger shows me. Where am I feeling powerless? Where am I feeling not seen? Are they not seeing me? Well, if I think they're not seeing me, I'm not seeing me. What am I not seeing? What am I not honouring in my life? Everything, my darlings, comes back to, you might say it's them, and they may never get you. Who cares? But what matters is, do you get you? Do you get you? Are you seeing this bit? Is that the message from your shadow coming up and saying, we need you to pay attention to this now. It's time, it's destiny. It's like you're supposed to be out here now and you're still playing that same old script that you've played 100,000 times over here. Is that what's going on? So what I've got to now, as you work through the pause, this is what I do. And then I take my time. I stop the story. Yeah, the good hypnosis can be a good tool. Breath work is really, really good, where you do some really, really big, deep breath work and we just go through stuff. I'm going to do some podcasts soon where I do some therapy sessions and you can hear. The person will be anonymous, and where I take them through and we find out what these underlying stories are. We follow the route down and we get to what it's really about. And that's where you have the breakthrough. That's where you start to shift, and a part of you that's been lost comes back to you. And it's like we pull all these hundreds of fractures back in and we start to feel whole. We start to feel calm and grounded. And you know what? It's really interesting, because when you're not afraid to own your shadow and you've gone on the treasure hunt 100 times and you see everything in life, be it good, be it bad, be it indifferent, be it ugly, a shock, everything that comes your way as a secret messenger, that there's something there for me to pay attention to, life starts to get a bit exciting. Like, what's the message here for me? And then when you're connected and aligned with yourself like that, those little messages that do happen in the outside world, that's the real treasure. Like I've put out to the universe, a friend of mine said, I put out for a universe, I'm in Nightingale and I'm feeling depressed. What do I do? What should I do? And a course that she'd been looking at last year suddenly gets an email, the course is starting, would you like to take it? That's a treasure. That is a wonderful thing where there you are, you ask the question. Make sure that you notice when the answers come though. Ask the questions. When you're in alignment, you'll start to hear it. You might be walking down the shops and you hear someone having a conversation with someone else, and that sentence stands out to you. What would that sentence mean to you in relation to your question? That's how I live life. I have songs go in my head and I think, oh, what's that lyric telling me? Oh, that applies to this. It's like super observant, super aware. And then I'm not frightened if bad stuff happens. I'm not frightened if so much bad stuff, hard stuff's happened. But I've got so much brilliant jewels, so many brilliant jewels, brilliant information, brilliant insight. And this is how we start to develop our second sight. That intuitive psychic sight is we start to be here. Now, if you're a child, you're out of yourself and it's going to be pushing back. There's so much static and fake news, blame, projection, pain going on, conflict that you actually can't hear the real inner voice. And I think that's what we're all wanting. Okay, so someone's got a dog, swan, nightingale. Very nice. They're all good. There's no combinations here that are not good. They're all fantastic. So if you could find, like I showed you, I go from raven, lion, then parrot to nightingale, then I've got a bit of peacock and I've got some beaver, and I know my pattern. It doesn't change. And I can see, and child will domino child. But if I can stop that, and that's the loving self-parenting, there's no need to feel shame about your shadow. You're supposed to have it. You can't have your light without this shadow. You can't have this gift without this shadow. Learning to accept it, to be able to see it when it comes up, to be able to embrace it and still love yourself as you own it, that's the way to go. Okay, we've got a beaver, swan, raven. Oh my God, you're a powerful woman, Simone. Whew, fantastic. Lots of softening. I will say that when we go from pause and we go into the be present, embrace your vulnerability. This work, and Brené Brown's brilliant about this, get hold of her work, she's brilliant. But it's all about vulnerability. It's all about, I feel vulnerable here. Name it, say it, feel it, accept it. Hold your child and go, it's okay. Yeah, it's the way to hear your your soul's voice and have that second sight, that real insight into your life, is to own your vulnerability, not wallow in it, but to feel the vulnerability and then own what you are believing about yourself, saying about yourself that you need to heal. What choices do you need to make changes in? Yes, we will be mostly one. When we're in child, we'll have one or two that just dominate and they blanket the rest of them. But I really encourage you to go on to my website, katieedentodd.com. There's a bit of information there about the personas. There's some introductory podcasts there describing them. And you can get hold of my book, User Guide to Humans, How I Was Born to Be. It's the first of 8 books. And I'm getting back into the second book, which helps you understand which one is where, which personas fits where, which in relationships work, the unconscious, whatever. That's all to come. That information is amazing. But you've got to get fluent in the personas first. So I'd encourage you between now and next week, have a think about where this conversation today is taking you. It's okay to be awkward. Don't try and be perfect. That's the other thing. I'm just looking at that. It's, oh, someone's devouring my books. Oh, well, I love you. Thank you so much. This work has devoured me. It's totally consumed me for 18 years. Thank you. No, the second book's not for sale yet. I'm still writing it. But we'll get there. I'll certainly let you know. So the work that you could be doing now, this week, come on in, and you can be present and push pause when you notice a reactivity, be it a small one or 1% to 100%. See if you can do the mirror. See if you can go, I feel vulnerable in which ways, and just go there. We get better with practice. Okay, you get a lot better with practice. I needed 30 years practice. Let yourself have the practice. Be vulnerable, but be compassionate, and realize that we're going in on a treasure hunt. It's actually quite exciting, and you will feel much more peace, much more calm, more love, and then your capacity to be loving to others, to be loving to those who are suffering around you, and realize that we are all one. And where they are suffering, they are parts of me that I may have rejected. The most powerful work we can all do right now, because we all chose to be born in these times, is to make sure we're as adult and elder as we can, so that we are messengers and voices of love. And I'm talking powerful love, not talking saccharine sentimental. I'm talking powerful love, agents of love, where we are helping shift consciousness on this planet so that we are an agent that is contributing to the solution, not to further hate and division, because that's just a reflection of the divisions within ourselves. Everyone has come to heal their inner divisions and to become whole this lifetime. My language, the personas, is my gift to you, in the hope that that will help you get there way quicker than you may have done on your own. All right, my darlings, it's so lovely to talk to you. I would love to hear from you. What topics do you want? What would you like from these sessions? I'm going to turn up every Monday at 10:30 a.m. and look forward to talking to you. I love having the interactions. My parrot just loves it. Fantastic. We had loads of people watch this later. We want to build this community so we can be a support to each other. I'm not perfect. I have lots of shadow. My child still comes up, but I'm quicker at being able to push the pause button and not letting her be radioactive. And when you learn that, then we really start to get going and know how to keep it in alignment and not go off course, because the fake news child will take us on the wrong path. So have a listen to this, go through this. Thank you, my darling. Aren't you gorgeous, you people? Really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you if you would like to suggest any topics. But otherwise, as I write the books, as I've done everything in my life, I'll be tuning in and I'll be coming in with strongly what I'm being guided to come and talk to you about. Much love. Get the book, User Guide to Humans, How I Was Born to Be, and go on the website, katieedentodd.com. Until next time, have a good week and be kind to yourself and everyone. Bye.